Hello, good morning and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of the Hindu News Analysis dated 30th August 2024. Now, before I start the discussion, a very important point. It was 28th August 2014 when Government of India launched a very important initiative by the name of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. And if you do the simple calculation, you will realize that we have completed the 10 years of this initiative. And this initiative has been very important. In regarding this initiative, I have three very simple questions to all of you. Give it a thought, and if you do not know the answer, wait for it. I will give you the answer in the course of the discussion today. First question, under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, can you open a bank account with a private sector bank? Question number 2, can you open a joint account under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana? And the third one, which is my favorite now, if you open a zero balance account under PMJDY, will you get a checkbook from the bank where you have opened the bank? These are the three questions. Give it a thought, keep your answers ready, wait for some time. I will let you know what are the answers to all the three questions. Now, what are the articles that we will be discussing today? I have taken 11 articles from international edition of Hindu newspaper. Analyzing gender budget, a very big article in the text and context page. Second, what is the issue? Why the Telegram CEO has been arrested by the French authorities? What are the issues involved there? Third one, the Bio E3 policy. There is an editorial provided today. Fourth, Assam's compulsory registration of Muslim marriages and divorces bill 2024. What are the important provisions and why this will become a lot of, let's say, why this will lead to a lot of debate now? Let's understand that. Fifth one, INS Arighaat has been commissioned now. What are the important points there? Union to organize campaign to restart MGNREGA in Bengal. Supreme Court has announced certain provision, or let's say has issued an order protecting the jobs of certain government employees. What is the issue? DGCA places SpiceJet under strict watch. Center has banned 156 fixed dose combination FDZ drugs. She-Box portal, a new version has been launched. And finally, the 11th article is the Ration shops in the Nilgiris have been fortified. So these are the 11 articles that we will be discussing. Couple of them mainly relevant for the mains examination, that is especially the first one, second, third and fourth. Very important for mains examination, and the remaining ones very much relevant for the preliminary examination. Having said so, it doesn't mean that you cannot use the points that we will be discussing under, let's say, article number 5 to article 11, doesn't mean you cannot use it in writing a quality answer in the mains examination as well. You can definitely use the points. With this caveat, let me start the discussion, but before that, all you need to ensure to clear the civil services examination is you need to cover the syllabus, static as well as the current affairs. You need to be updated with lot of content material. You need to practice MCQ answer writing as well as the mains answer writing. And let's be honest here, in the course of the preparation, many points of the time at multiple intervals, you need the assistance of a mentor. All of these are available in the Unacademy offer that we have launched now. The price of this course is 24,999. But be careful, this offer will end tomorrow. I have been told so. So if you are interested, please do check out the details in the link provided in the description below. Let me start with the first very important article, analyzing the gender budget of 24 and 2025. What are the important points here? Point number 1, from the year 2004 and 2005, Government of India, again I said 2004 and 5, specifically it is, right, understand this, right, 2005 and 2006. So, from this particular year, Government of India introduced the concept of gender based budgeting, gender based budgeting or gender responsive budgeting. What is this concept of a gender responsive budgeting? Essentially, Government of India now will start allocating certain amount of funds, allocate funds in every year's budget, and these funds will be utilized for empowering women, for launching schemes, allocating funds under the schemes for empowering girl children, women, etc. And in the process of implementation of the schemes, the evaluation will also be done and the schemes will be reworked or revised accordingly. So, essentially the idea of a gender based budgeting, it is a practice. It is a practice wherein the government allocates the funds, utilizes the funds and implements various schemes for empowering women, or you can simply write the term to promote equity amongst men and women in India. The reason behind this kind of a practice which was introduced was essentially that Government of India realized there is a differing access between men and women, boys and girls whenever you talk about, let us say, the job availability. Let us say regarding access to skilling, regarding access to nutrition, access to healthcare, etc. There is a differing access. We needed to address that particular point. It has been seen that with more and more empowering of the women, the incidences of violence against the women come down, and it was felt that it was the duty of Government of India not to just keep on talking about empowering women, but also make policies which will ensure that whatever is the government's talk, the government is walking the talk. So, keeping in mind all of these particular points, we introduce the concept of gender responsive budgeting or gender based budgeting. Now, with implementation of this over a period of time, the amount of funds which have been allocated under this gender responsive budgeting has increased, and this practice of gender based budgeting was adopted not only by the central government, it was also adopted by various state governments. For example, Kerala, for example, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, etc. More than 20 states in India have adopted the concept of gender based budgeting over a period of time. Now, point number 3, though the funds which were allocated under the expenditure of the budget, it has increased, the absolute allocation has kept on increasing, but the percentage of total expenditure, the percentage of the total expenditure in the budget, it remained somewhere in the range of 5%. Remember this, in couple of years it went up to almost 6%. In some of the years it has fallen down to around 4%, but the overall allocation under the gender budgeting was hovering around 5%. And for the first time, the government now in the budget for 24 and 25, for the first time the allocation has increased to 6.8%. Please remember this, for the first time the allocation has increased to 6.8%. This is a huge improvement, and the total amount of funds which are allocated under the gender responsive budgeting or gender based budgeting has crossed more than 3 lakh crore rupees. It has crossed more than 3 lakh crore rupees. Now, point number 4, many of you will be thinking, sir, what is the use of the allocation? How does government utilize the funds, etc.? Listen to me carefully now. Until very recently, I repeat, until very recently, whatever funds were allocated were divided in two types of schemes, Part A scheme and Part B scheme. Part A and Part B. In case of all the schemes which were covered under Part A, all the allocations are done, that is 100% of the allocations done were only provided for women beneficiaries. Is it okay? Whatever funds are allocated under the scheme will be utilized only for women beneficiaries. And part B of the scheme or part B schemes will include those schemes where 30%, at least 30% of the funds allocated will be utilized for women beneficiaries. This was the classification which was used by the government until now. For example, if you talk about, let's say, part A scheme, central government has a scheme by the name of National Old Pension Scheme, specifically for widows. Indira Gandhi Widow National Old Age Scheme or Old Age Pension Scheme. This is available only for the widows. Essentially, whatever funds are allocated for this widow pension scheme, all these funds will be used for women beneficiaries only. That is essentially the part A scheme. And in addition to this, there are multiple schemes which can be classified as part B, where at least 30% of the funds, that is more than 30, less than 100, will be used for women beneficiaries. And until very recently, only around a fifth of the total funds allocated, I repeat, only around a fifth, that is around 20% of the funds allocated by the government in the budget were allocated for part A. Remaining 4/5, I am just rounding off the numbers now, remaining 4/5, around 4/5 of the total funds allocated were allocated under part B scheme. Essentially means lot of the funds are in those schemes which do not specifically target women beneficiaries. They will cover both male as well as female beneficiaries, but they will ensure that at least 30% of the funds will go to female beneficiaries. So, there was a criticism regarding this, that we should allocate more and more funds under part A and not part B. Now, Government of India, in the recently announced budget in the month of July, the government announced a new budget for the current financial year. In the newly announced budget, the Government of India has made a very important change. What are the changes? Please make observations now. The total amount of funding that will go to part A schemes, the total amount of funding that will go to the part A schemes has suddenly increased from around 15% last year to around 40%. I repeat, it has increased from around 15% in the last year to around 40%, that is 2022-23 to 23 and 24, it has increased to 40, and 24 and 25, it has increased, or it has been kept at around 1/3, that is 35%. So, basically this is a very important point to note, which essentially means now Government of India is allocating more and more funds under part A scheme. Point number 1. Point number 2, another very important change is, in addition to part A and part B schemes, now Government of India has also introduced a part C scheme. Part C scheme. What is the part C scheme? If you make an observation, you will know that part A, 100% of the funds for the beneficiaries. Part B, 30% of the funds for the beneficiaries, at least 30%, that is for women beneficiaries. What if a scheme is there where the allocation of the funds for the women beneficiaries is less than 30%, let us say 25%, 28% or 20%, where will they be allocated? What will they be classified as? Until now, they were not included as a part of gender based budgeting. Now, this year the Government of India has introduced one more type of classification within the gender based budgeting called as a part C, where if the allocations are less than or you can simply say up to 30%. If the allocations are less than or up to 30%, they would be classified in part C. In simple terms, imagine certain amount of funds are allocated. Let us take a simple example, 50,000 crores, and out of 50,000 crores, let us say 10,000 crore rupees has been allocated or has been reserved for women beneficiaries, which is nothing but the 20% of the total allocation. This will be classified as part C. In example of this, Government of India now says MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, MGNREGA Act, and it is a scheme. So, MGNREGS now will be classified as Part C scheme itself. It will be classified as a Part C scheme. So, this is another very important change that has been announced by the government under the concept of gender budgeting. Now, having said so, what are the concerns with these kind of changes which have been introduced by the government? What are the issues? What are the concerns even today? Point number 1, many of these schemes which have been classified as Part A now, I repeat, many of these schemes which have been classified by the government in this year as a Part A scheme, this is said to be the reason why there is a sudden rise in the percentage allocation out of the total allocation for gender budgeting. The issue here is, in many of these schemes, the funds are not allocated only for women beneficiaries. I will repeat the statement. The funds are not allocated, in simple terms, all the beneficiaries are not women beneficiaries. That is a point of concern. For example, there is an initiative of Government of India where housing assistance, housing is developed under rural India as well as urban India. Now, that has been brought under the concept of Part A scheme. But many experts have looked at it and they have stated all the beneficiaries are not women beneficiaries here. How can you include that as a part of Part A scheme? That is the first point. Second point, second concern that you need to remember is, no doubt the allocations over a period of time have increased, right? It has increased. The absolute allocations have increased as well as the percentage allocations have been increased now because of the government policies. But the allocation, if it increases, doesn't necessarily mean that utilization also increases. I hope you understand this. It doesn't mean that utilization also increases. For example, a ministry might be allocated 10,000 crore rupees in this year's budget. All the 10,000 crores may not be utilized by the ministry. Maybe at the end of the financial year, some of these funds will be taken back by the Government of India because the fund utilization has been lesser, has been lower. So, we need to address the issue of utilization rate, utilization efficiency within the gender budgeting as well. And point number 3, like I said, more than 20 states have implemented in one or the other way the concept of gender budgeting. We need to ensure that more and more states will also start coming on board. More ministries will come on board and start introducing the concept of gender budgeting within the schemes or the programs that they are implementing. So, these are certain very important points that are associated with the article provided here, analyzing gender budget for the year 24 and 25. Now, associated with this, here is an MCQ assignment for you. MCQ assignment number 16. Consider the following statements regarding the gender based budgeting. The gender budgeting is provided for as per the provisions under the Constitution of India. Do we have provisions in the Constitution of India for gender based budgeting? Right? Let me know. Second, the gender responsive budgeting was introduced in 2005 and 6 in India, already mentioned here, 2005 and 6. Third one, the gender responsive budgeting is limited to central government and none of the states in India so far have adopted this particular practice. What is the right option here? How many of the statements are correct? Please do let me know in the comment section below. Now, in addition to this, is this concept relevant for civil services? Let me give you one example. Back in the year 2016, the question was asked in the GS paper, women empowerment in India needs gender budgeting. What are the requirements and the status of gender budgeting in the Indian context? 150 words and a 10 marker question. So, back in 2016, question has already been asked. You can model the answer in such a way that you will write an introduction. What do you mean by gender budgeting? Write the definition. After that, you can write what is the importance of gender budgeting in India. And after that, you can write what is the practice followed in India regarding gender budgeting. And please remember this, India is not the only country which follows the concept of gender budgeting. There are many countries around the world which have already implemented the concept of gender budgeting. In fact, in some of the countries, they have made an amendment to the constitution. In some of the countries, they have amended constitution to provide for constitutional provision to implement gender budgeting. There are examples around the world regarding that as well. So, write an introduction, define what is the gender budgeting. Define what is gender budgeting. It's a practice of allocation of funds in implementation of various schemes and then evaluating the effectiveness of the schemes. That is the introduction. Then come to the main body. In main body, you can simply write, right? You can simply write what is the need for gender budgeting, right? How gender budgeting is practiced in India, whether the states are also implementing gender budgeting or not, and you can basically wind up the answer by writing way forward. Way forward, that is essentially the concerns that I have told you, you can write them as a way forward. For example, you need to allocate more funding under gender budgeting. You need to ensure that utilization rates will increase. You need to ensure that more and more departments, when they implement the schemes or programs, they will incorporate the angle of gender budgeting in their schemes. So, this is how you generally will model answer, right, and you will be able to hit the number of words easily, 150 words. Now, in association with this concept of answer writing, let us continue. One more assignment to you, mains answer writing assignment number 13. In the introduction, I told you this. We have completed very recently. We are on 30th August now. So, I hope you understand. Very recently, we have completed the 10 years of implementation of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. There is all likelihood that this kind of a question will be asked in the mains examination either this year or the next year or even in the preliminary examination. So, to basically make you prepared for these kind of questions, I have given you one assignment. Discuss how the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana has helped in achieving financial inclusion, women empowerment and also inclusive growth. A 10 marks question for 150 words. Those who are wondering, sir, how do I model this answer? How do I write the answer to this kind of question? I have given you two articles, two editorials from two different newspapers. One from Business Standard, which titles Stepping Aside and Looking Back, which talks about success of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. There was one more editorial in Indian Express couple of days ago, a system to bank on, which again talks about what has been the impact of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So, you can use these two editorials and model the answer for 150 words. Try it out. Please do try it out. I have given you the material as well. Read the material and write the model answer. Now, before I go forward, right, I hope all of you know this. Government of India also publishes a magazine once every 15 days by the title New India Samachar. New India Samachar. And why I am talking about this? I am not basically promoting this magazine. I have not been paid money to promote as well. So, argument is simple. In the latest publication of New India Samachar, there was a 13-page article, 13-page article which talked about the Jan Dhan Yojana, how it has helped in promoting various objectives of Government of India. And in one of the pages, there were certain FAQs provided, frequently asked questions, and based on the FAQs only, I asked you the 3 questions earlier. Let me answer those questions now. The first question was, can you open a bank account under PMJDY in a private sector bank? Answer is yes. Second question was, can you open a joint bank account under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana? Answer is again yes. Third question, if you open a zero balance account, which is allowed by the way, if you open a zero balance account under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, will you be given a checkbook by the bank? Answer is no. For the first two, answer is yes. For the third question, answer is no. Reason being, you will get a checkbook, but if you have a minimum zero balance, the bank which will open the bank account will not give you a checkbook, because from one bank to another bank, the banks have certain limitations or restrictions. They generally say, keep a balance of 1000 rupee, I will issue a checkbook to you. So the government document itself says there is no checkbook facility in case of Jan Dhan Yojana accounts if they are opened with zero deposit. If you open with a zero balance, the checkbook will not be issued to you. So these are the three answers to the questions that I asked in the beginning of the session. Now, what are the answers to the assignments that I have given earlier to you? Earlier I had given MCQ assignment number 14, that is basically couple of days ago. Consider the following statements regarding the National Food Security Act 2013. The central government has the powers to issue license for the fair price shops. Answer is wrong. Statement is wrong, by the way. Central government doesn't issue the license for the fair price shop. It is the states which will identify and issue the licenses. Second statement, state-wise coverage under NFSA has been done by the Planning Commission. Yes. Back in the year 2013 and 14, when we started discussing the idea of a NFSA, we had a Planning Commission then. So the Planning Commission was given this duty to identify how many beneficiaries, number of beneficiaries, by the way, not the identification of the beneficiaries, number of beneficiaries. Out of 80 crore people, how many will be from the state of UP, how many will be from the state of Bihar, Karnataka, etc. That was decided, or that was given by the Planning Commission. But please remember the next point as well. If let us say 5 crore beneficiaries are identified in the state of UP, it will be the state government who will identify who will get the benefit. Out of 5 crore, who will be the beneficiary in the UP will be identified by the state government. Second statement is correct. The issue prices under this are allowed to be higher than the MSP. Absolutely no. The NFSA provision says the price, that is the issue price, cannot be higher than MSP. So third statement is wrong, first statement is wrong. Right option will be only one of the statement is correct. One more assignment I had given earlier. Consider the following statements. The agriculture census is conducted once every 10 years. Statement is wrong. It is conducted once every 5 years. And very recently, that is in the year 2023, we have launched 11th agriculture census. The average size of the land holding in India is 2 hectares. It is also wrong. According to the earlier agriculture census of 15 and 16, it has fallen down to 1.08 hectares. Both the statements are wrong. Right option for this question will be option D. Both are incorrect. Done. So these are the assignment questions. I have solved it from the earlier session. I have also given you one mains answer writing assignment and one more MCQ assignment. Please do practice them. Next article, Telegram CEO faces charges of allowing alleged crime on the app. What is the issue? In the last 5 to 6 days, there has been lot of discussion regarding the arrest of the Telegram CEO, Mr. Pavel Durov, which has been conducted by the French authorities. This has led to a lot of criticism against the practices, or let us say the French government, and the French government on their behalf also they have clarified that what are the reasons why this person or this CEO has been arrested, etc. Now before you jump to a conclusion, please have the complete picture of what is the issue all about. Please understand the complete picture. The argument is simple, or the debate is very simple. Here the issue is whether it is a free speech. The issue is free speech versus dereliction of duty. It is basically a debate of free speech versus dereliction of duty. That is essentially the CEO of Telegram has been proponent, has been a very avid supporter of a free speech. Just like Mr. Elon Musk, who also owns the app, or let us say the platform X, which was earlier known as Twitter. Both of them have been very fervent supporters of the free speech. In essence, they do not believe in regulating or policing what other people, what other users will be doing on their app. If I want to basically quote something on the X app, right, the free speech advocates basically will say you have all the freedom, whatever you are feeling, you can write it. There is no need to police what you write on the platform. There is no need to police or control how you use a particular app. That is one side of the argument. Having said so, there is also abuse of the app that is very much possible, and it has been seen in various instances. For example, what if an app will be used to circulate pornographic content? And this is a very common feature, by the way. Lot of authorities have raised alarm, have raised concern over the abuse of the technology. What if this kind of an app is used for communications between, let's say, terrorists, which has been one of the allegations against Telegram. So, argument is there have been multiple instances in the past as well. There have been multiple instances in the past where authorities from different countries, the government from different countries have locked horns with the Telegram app. And India is also not an exception. I will come to India in some time now. In the earlier, there have been examples. For example, Russia back in the year 2018 asked for encryption keys from the Telegram, because please understand, WhatsApp, the messages are encrypted, from end to end encryption is done. Nobody can basically check your, right, let's say government authorities cannot check, cannot snoop over your messages, they cannot basically come to know what you are writing. In case of Telegram, please understand, there is an encryption, but it is not an end to end encryption. Essentially, Telegram is different from the WhatsApp in a sense, it is completely cloud based. Telegram is completely cloud based. Using this Telegram app, you can easily communicate with each other without having a mobile number, because you are using an user ID, you can easily register over the Telegram and start using the Telegram, and it will help you. That is one of the problems, or let's say the Telegram says it is one of the features of us, differentiating feature, but the governments do not accept it. They criticize it. That is basically, using Telegram, you can message anonymously. You can protect your identity, who is messaging, how they are messaging or what they are messaging, etc. Very difficult for the government authorities to find out. And that has actually led to frictions between the various governments over a period of time, as well as the Telegram channel or Telegram company. For example, Russia back in the year 2018 asked for certain information from Telegram about the users. They did not provide it. The Russian government blocked Telegram from being used in Russia. Later, the blockage was actually lifted back. It was taken back. Second, there was also an accusation that when the Paris was attacked by the terrorists back in the year 2015, they actually used Telegram to communicate with each other. And when the information was sought from the Telegram, they did not provide this kind of an information. And this has actually led to a lot of friction. And please understand, by the way, please understand this is not the just only one technology company which basically doesn't want to give out user information to governments. In the past, there have been multiple instances in India, overseas as well, where the information technology companies have refrained from disclosing information about their users to the government. Right, for example, there was a case in USA regarding Apple only. That is, a terrorist, alleged terrorist, was using an Apple phone, and the Apple phone was locked with a passcode. And now the government authorities wanted to open this, bypass the passcode. Apple, right, was fervently against it. So again, there is always an argument, to as well as fro, there is an argument, pro as well as counter arguments can be made. But here the concern is Telegram, the technology of Telegram or the app of Telegram has been misused, it has been abused. There were fines imposed by the government of Germany back in the year 2022 to the extent of $5 million. Reason which was cited by the German authorities was that Telegram was not abiding by whatever are the conditions, rules and regulations of government of Germany. Suspended the services, the Telegram services were suspended in Brazil briefly for the duration in 2023. Again, it was because of sharing of the customer information or user information. So these are some of the examples in the recent past where the Telegram has been at loggerheads with the government authorities. Now what about India? In India also, in the last couple of days, there is one news that is getting circulated, that is the Telegram channel might be banned very soon. The Telegram app might be banned very soon. It can be closed very, very soon. Why? What are the concerns which have been raised? Listen to me very carefully. The Telegram app, the allegation is that it was used in circulating of NEET papers. In very recent times, there was one issue that broke out regarding NEET examination. That is, there was a leakage of the papers of NEET examination. And there is an allegation that along with other types of, let's say, the messaging channels, even the Telegram app has been used to circulate, right, let's say, the leaked question papers. That was one concern which was raised regarding usage of Telegram in India. Second usage, SEBI many times has found that, SEBI by the way is a market regulator, SEBI many of the times has found that people have created Telegram channels and they have kept on adding subscribers into this Telegram channel. And what is the use of this Telegram channel? They will say that the person who has created the channel, they will say that they will inform, they will provide, let's say, research, or they will educate people regarding the stock market. But in the process, these kind of Telegram channels have been misused or abused to conduct front running. To basically conduct front running. What is the idea of front running? Imagine, I will open a Telegram channel, and those who are wondering, sir, do you have a Telegram channel? Yes, I have a Telegram channel, it has been blocked, right, because apparently somebody has raised a copyright infringement. I don't know what is a copyright infringement there, but it has been blocked, so don't worry. So imagine I have got a Telegram channel, and right, because I am involved in, let's say, studies related to economy, stock market, etc., lot of you people will be, right, part of the Telegram channel. What if I tell you, tomorrow if you purchase the shares of company X, again let's say XYZ, not X, XYZ. Tomorrow if I say, if you purchase the shares of company XYZ, right, I think you will be able to make more number of profits, more profitable, etc. So obviously tomorrow lot of you will go to the market and start purchasing the shares of company XYZ. Now I have already purchased the shares today, and when you start purchasing, the market prices will increase. I will simply sell those shares in the market. I will be able to book a huge amount of profit. It is not allowed. This is an illegal practice. It is not allowed. And SEBI has said in multiple cases, the Telegram channels have been the, right, let's say, the most important tool which has been used to conduct front running. But again, this is not the only tool, by the way, right. News channels have been abused or misused, right. Let's say the Facebook notifications, or let's say the Instagram, right, let's say the updates have been misused to conduct front running as well. So second issue is, right, basically front running. Third issue, where you can basically connect Telegram to, let's say, abuse of the system, the government of India very recently has started investigating Telegram channels for potential abuses in the form of blackmailing. Potential abuses for blackmailing, as well as, right, as well as gambling activity, as well as for gambling activities. So have a look at this. Internationally, there is always a concern. There is already a concern. That is, this kind of a tool, that is Telegram, can be used for terrorists to communicate to each other. It can be used for, right, let's say, circulation of pornographic content, especially let's say child pornography. That is a very big concern. It can be used, right, to basically incite violence amongst different ethnic groups. For example, in Brazil, that was the issue. If I am, let's say, having a group where all the people belong to certain, let's say, ideology, right. For example, if all the people who believe in Nazi ideology, right, I can create a group. I'll keep on posting content, I'll keep on posting wrong information, I'll keep on misinforming them. That can actually lead to the violence against other sections of the society. So there is already a concern in the international, let's say, community regarding potential abuse, which has already been proven regarding Telegram channel. And on the other side, there is an argument of, right, let's say, freedom of speech. These owners of such kind of apps, for example, Mr. Durov, multiple times has been accused of this. It's not the first time. Multiple times has been accused of this. He basically says he believes in complete freedom of speech. He doesn't want to police, he doesn't want to monitor whatever happens on the Telegram app, etc. So because of all of these, now the French authorities have arrested the CEO. And after the arrest was done, there was a huge opposition to this, criticism regarding this arrest which has been done by the French authorities. But again, the French president, including the authorities, have clarified that the arrest that has been done is not political in nature. The proceedings that will be conducted against this CEO are no way political in nature. There are certain concerns regarding, let's say, same thing, that is right, abusive language, right, let's say usage of this in terrorist attack, usage of this for right fund, let's say transfer of right, let's say certain information, etc. So there have been certain concerns raised, charges which have been filed by the police authorities. Based on that, they have made the arrest. So essentially it is a debate of free speech versus dereliction of duty. Having said so, you can also write the counterpoints here, that is, the owner cannot be held liable for whatever others will write or do on the platform. How can the owner basically monitor everything that you do, right, using the app? It is very difficult. I am not saying it's not possible. We have systems in place. For example, the platforms such as let's say WhatsApp, they have put systems in place. Platforms such as Meta, over a period of time, they have put systems in place. They can control, right, 100% it's very difficult, but they can control the spread of, or let's say the potential abuse or misuse of their platforms. But in case of Telegram, it is very less, negligible, and that has actually led to arrest of the CEO in this case. So these are certain very important points regarding the article. Please make a note of this. Next article, the Bio E3 policy, biotechnology for economy, environment and employment. Very recently, the government of India, that is cabinet, has cleared a new policy, Bio E3 policy. What is this Bio E3 policy? In case of India, please understand, the biotechnology has been present in the Indian economy for multiple years now. It has been decades since introduction of, let's say, companies which will deal with biotechnology. But the growth of this sector has not been very satisfactory. If you compare this with, let's say, information technology, there was a point of time when information technology sector, the growth or the size of the sector or the contribution of this to, let's say, the GDP was very small. But because of the private sector participation, because of the promotion done by the state governments and the central government, today the IT sector accounts for a huge chunk of contribution to exports, to employment generation, to contribution to the GDP and its contribution in promotion of various other sectors as well. Because there is a very close linkage of usage of technology, software, etc. from the IT in many other sectors as well. But the same kind of a growth has not been observed in the biotechnology. And if you are wondering, sir, how can we use biotechnology? Where all we can use biotechnology? I will just give you one example. Very recently, there has been a lot of discussion regarding Mpox, correct? There has been lot of discussion regarding Mpox. Again, earlier it was called as a monkeypox. Now we do not call it as a monkeypox, we use a short form Mpox. The issue regarding the Mpox is that there is a concern that it might become a problem because of the spread that we are seeing today. But if you study regarding the Mpox, you will realize that until now, until 2022, because that was one time period when there was a sudden spread of Mpox cases across the globe, including India, by the way. And now in 2024, so far there is no case which has been registered for Mpox infection in India, but in our neighboring countries, in European countries, etc., there is a concern of rising spread. But the issue is, if you talk about Mpox, what about the vaccines? What about the research and development? What about, right, let's say the treatment for this? You will realize this, most of the vaccines or the treatment regarding the mpox is associated with the smallpox. That is, in many of the cases, for example, the WHO itself writes, in case of a treatment for mpox, we are going to recommend these vaccines, these, let's say, medicines, etc., antivirals, by the way, which are used for the treatment of smallpox, which basically means you need to invest a lot of money, you need to invest in research and development. All of that is connected to the concept of biotechnology itself. And in fact, in case of India, we are expecting a new type of a vaccine for mpox in the next 1 year, right? Again, whether it will happen or not, you will have to wait and see. One example. Second example, very often you talk about import of edible oils. You want to make India Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant, rather than importing, you want to produce in India. Produce sufficient so that it will be able to meet the demand for the edible oils in India. But the problem in case of edible oil production is productivity. You cannot expand the land, you cannot put more stress on the land as a factor of production. You need to increase productivity. In that case, you need to adopt the concept of genetic engineering. Genetic engineering, my dear, is associated with, again, biotechnology. Right? So, I hope you understand vaccines, food production, climate resilient crops, right? Let us say healthcare sector, there will be, or let us say even food production for that matter, or let us say the food processing, etc., there is a wide area where you can apply the biotechnology and promote the growth of the sector as well as the industry. But in case of India, historically, the development of biotechnology sector has not been happening. What is the reason? What is the problem behind it? The problem behind this is, whenever you want to conduct, let us say, research and development, whenever you want to develop certain vaccines, whenever you want to develop, let us say, certain, the chemicals, etc., either we do not have sufficient infrastructure for all of this in India. Is it okay? Either we do not have sufficient infrastructure for all of this to be done in India. And apart from this, another bigger issue is, we are heavily import dependent. We are heavily import dependent. For example, I will take a very simple example, by the way. India produces one of the largest value of drugs in the international market. We produce a lot of drugs to the extent that we also export these drugs to other countries as well. And when I say drugs, my dear, please understand, I am not talking about those drugs which are used in movies such as Udta Punjab. I am not talking about those drugs. Whenever I am discussing and I use the term drugs, I am simply talking about medicines. I am simply talking about medicines here. So, India is a global factory to produce medicines, we export them. But how many of you know that a lot of raw material that is required to produce these medicines, which are called as activated pharmaceutical ingredients, API, activated pharmaceutical ingredients, we import this from rest of the world. And it should not be surprising to you if I say, or when I say, most of these imports of API, we get it from our friendly country, that is China. So, I hope you understand this. There is a problem. The number of companies which have invested, which are globally recognized within the biotechnology sector, these are very limited. If you have read, if you have heard of it, you will be able to name 1 or 2 or 3 companies which have a global recognition, which are present in the biotechnology, that is it. But apart from that, right, there will not be, you will not be able to recognize or name multiple companies which have a larger size, which have a larger share, etc., within the biotechnology sector. To address this, to basically address this, Government of India now has announced a Bio E3 policy, biotechnology for economy, environment and employment. Although the details of the scheme, for example, the allocation of the funds, etc., are yet to be given, you will have to wait for it. But the Government of India simply says, we will promote and we will focus on these 6 strategic sectors or these 6 strategic areas. For example, bio-based chemicals, polymers as well as enzymes, smart proteins and functional foods, precision biotherapeutics, climate resilient agriculture, carbon capture and utilization, marine and space research. These are the 6 areas which will be focused under the Bio E3 policy. As and when the detailed announcement is done, what are the different, let us say, policies that will be introduced or schemes introduced, allocations done, as and when the government will announce that, we will cover that later. Okay. So, this is one more very important article regarding biotechnology or the biotech enigma, and as such please understand I have not mentioned that here, but you should remember this. Very recently we are experiencing a concept of funding winter, correct? We are experiencing funding winter, and the funding winter essentially means the companies, especially the startups, are finding it very difficult to raise funds. It is very difficult for these companies to raise funds in the market. Investors are not so much interested in these startups now, again comparatively. Before the pandemic or during the pandemic it was different. After the pandemic the situation has completely changed. So, these startups including the biotech companies, I repeat, these startups including the biotech companies are facing the issue of funding winter, and that has actually led to lot of, let us say, the research and development initiatives that are supposed to be undertaken by these biotech companies. You can write even this as one of the points which is affecting the biotech sector in India. Okay. Now, next article, the Assam Assembly passes a bill to make Muslim marriage registration a must now, and I will guarantee you this will become a point of contention. This will be dragged to the different levels of judiciary, and you will keep on hearing about this bill in the next, right, in the coming time period now. Why? The government of Assam in the beginning of this year itself, they were very clear. They wanted to repeal one of the old laws which was introduced during the British government. The law was Assam Muslim Marriage and Divorce Registration Act of 1935, very old act. Even before the independence, the Britishers had introduced this law, and the government of Assam was worried about some of the provisions within this law. For example, the section 8 and section 10 were the point of contention. The government was of the opinion that if you look at the section 8 and section 10 of this law, it does not prohibit child marriage. It is not prohibiting child marriage. If marriage will take place, that is, let us say, between two Muslims, a boy and a girl, if marriage happens and if both of them are children or even one of them is a child, even then there is a provision under the section 8 and section 10 of this act where registration can happen. I hope you understand, registration can happen. So, government of Assam was concerned about it, and to address this particular issue, along with, let us say, the issue of polygamy, along with the informality of the law, non-binding nature of multiple provisions within the law, the government of Assam in the beginning of this year introduced an ordinance, and under this ordinance they wanted to repeal the Assam Muslim Marriage and Divorce Registration Act of 1935. And yesterday the state legislature introduced the bill to basically repeal this law and introduce a new law. The new law will be named as Compulsory Registration of Muslim Marriages and Divorces Bill 2024. Now, what are the very important provisions? Not all the provisions are needed, important ones, which will become a point of contention in the coming days. Point number 1, the new law mandates that whenever the marriage will happen within the Muslim community, this has to be registered. The marriage has to be registered now, it is a must. It does not mean earlier they were not registering the marriages. Please understand, earlier the marriages were registered amongst Qazis, that is the marriage register in the Muslim community was referred to as a Qazi, and individual, the person is an individual who is identified as a Qazi by the state government, and these will be recognized as a public servant. So earlier the registration was done, right, with Qazis. Now the new bill says not required. You do not have to register with the Qazis, you will have to register that with sub-registrars. For example, amongst, let's say, other communities such as, let's say, Hindu community, if a marriage happens, the marriage is registered with the sub-register office. You have to go submit all the documents and they will basically register your marriage and issue a certificate to you. Now the new bill says it will be same. You will have to approach a sub-registrar, submit the documents, and after that your registration will be done for the marriage. Point number 1. Point number 2, if the registration has to be done, certain conditions have been imposed now. There are 7 total conditions, totally 7 conditions. For example, the boy and girl should not be minors. The boy should be of the age of at least 21 years and the girl should be of the age of 18 years. So that is one very important condition. Second important condition, 30 days before you go for a registration, you will have to submit documents. You will have to provide all the documents whichever is requested by the authority, right, etc., etc. For example, there is one more condition which says, if you are approaching a sub-registrar in a particular region, that is an area, you will have to be a resident of this region for a specific time period. So there are multiple conditions which have been imposed if a registration of this marriage has to happen. Third condition is, if the authority, that is a sub-registrar, finds out there is some issue, some problem with the documentation, etc., they may deny registering the marriage. They might deny. And in case of a denial, you can approach a district registrar and you can approach Registrar General of Marriages. Appeals process also has been prescribed. And mind you, if there is any violation, for example, if I am the sub-registrar, let us say there was a marriage within this, let us say in this case, there was a marriage between, right, let us say an adult and, right, a girl who is below the age of 18 years, which is not allowed. If I allow this to happen and if I register this as a marriage, then my dear, I will be prosecuted. I will be prosecuted. There is a penalty of, right, let us say 50,000 rupees, and there is also provision wherein I can be sent to the jail for a period of 1 year. So these are some of the very important features that have been introduced under this new bill, Compulsory Registration of Muslims, Marriages and Divorces Bill 2024. Like I said, the pro arguments which have been put forward by the state government of Assam are these. 1. This is being done to update. Earlier law was very old. This has been done to update the law. Point number 2, earlier law, because of section 8 and section 10, it allowed registration of a marriage between an adult, right, and, right, the girl below the age of 18 years, child marriage. It allowed. Now this will not be allowed. We are going to take care of it. And mind you, please understand, this is nothing new in case of state of Assam. In the last couple of years, there have been multiple instances where people have been arrested in Assam for promoting or for being involved in a child marriage. More than 4,000 cases have been filed in the state of Assam because of the child marriage issue itself. So just look at this from the angle, from that particular viewpoint as well. But having said so, there is a criticism as well now. What is the criticism? Why is the state entering into personal laws? Why is the state government entering into personal law? It should not enter. In the process of making laws which will basically enter into the personal, let us say, lives of the people, certain community, don't you think this law will be used to target those communities? Again, these are counterpoints. If the law can be used to harass a certain community, the law can be used to target certain community, and under the Constitution of India, you are not allowed to do that. Right, so these are some of the counterpoints which have been issued against the law announced by the state government of Assam. In the coming days, various people have already shown the interest that they will challenge the law in the judiciary, and that will happen, right. So, these are certain points regarding this news article. Be careful, it will come again and again in the discussion now. Next article, submarine Arighaat or Arighaat set to add to the nuclear triad of India. Now, point number 1, what do you mean by nuclear triad? Nuclear triad essentially means you have a capability to attack either through land or through, right, let us say water, that is sea, and through air. Simple. You have an attack capability, right. You can launch, let us say, nuclear missiles through land, you can launch nuclear missiles through water, and you can launch nuclear missiles through air as well. In case of India, right, it has been many decades since we are trying to approach and have a nuclear triad. For example, we have a land vector here, that is basically many of these, right, let us say missiles which have a nuclear capability, we can attack, we can launch an attack through land. What about air? We have a air vector, for example, right, a Sukhoi 30 MKI, it can deliver nuclear bombs. So, second leg of the nuclear triad is done. What about the third leg of nuclear triad? That is sea. Do we have a launch capability to launch nuclear missiles through water? Until 2000 it was a problem. Until 2000 it was a problem. And mind you, amongst the global countries, there are very few countries which have an effective nuclear triad, and these are essentially the permanent 5 members of United Nations Security Council. The permanent 5 members. Out of these permanent 5 members, many countries have tried to develop the nuclear triad. India has been successful in developing the nuclear triad, and this happened in the last decade itself, that is with INS Arihant being launched. And remember this, INS Arihant is nuclear capable, that is it has the capacity to launch the nuclear, let us say nuclear attack through the sea routes. So, with the launch of INS Arihant, we were able to achieve the nuclear triad, and now in the Arihant class, this is the second one, in the Arihant class this is the second one, that is basically this is INS Arighaat, okay, INS Arighaat. So, this has been commissioned yesterday. It is India's second nuclear powered ballistic missile submarine. In terms of technology, it is much better. Lot of these technologies used in the INS Arighaat are indigenously developed. These are designed, developed and incorporated within India itself, and it is said compared to INS Arihant, INS Arighaat is much more capable in terms of staying for a longer duration within the sea water, and only for a longer duration they will be coming up to the surface only in case of, let us say, repairs are required, in case of refilling of the food items, etc., etc. So, this is a very important news article in the context of defense capabilities in India. Please make a note of this. Done? Right. So, this is one more article. Next one, the union to organize campaign to restart MGNREGA or MGNREGA in West Bengal. What is the issue here? Let me tell you a very interesting story. Right. In this article and next article, I will tell you a story. The MGNREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, it is a centrally sponsored scheme where Government of India will allocate the funds, and it ensures that 100 wage days, at least 100 wage days are provided to the adults in every village household. In a village house, right, at least one adult will be provided with, let us say, at least 100 days of wage opportunities. And when I say 100 days of wage opportunities, we are looking at unskilled labor. Is it okay? We are looking at unskilled labor. Now, this scheme has been implemented across India, and over a period of time, many states have raised a concern regarding funding allocation by the center. And there has been one state, that is the state of West Bengal. there have been continuous frictions between the government of West Bengal as well as the central or the union government. And back in the year 2021, specifically December 2021, the central government announced that they have conducted lot of surveys and investigations into the implementation of MGNREGA projects within the state of West Bengal, and they have found that in lot of these infrastructure projects which are developed under the scheme, there is corruption, there is abuse of the funds, mismanagement of the funds. And because the government has found that the mismanagement is happening within MGNREGA, under section 27, they quoted the section 27 and stated that henceforth we will not allocate the funds, and whatever is the amount that is pending to be paid to the workers there, we will not give the payment. Look at this. The central government stopped allocation of funds to the state government of West Bengal under MGNREGA. And what does the section 27 say? The center may, on receipt of any complaint regarding the issue of improper utilization of funds granted under this act in respect of any scheme, is satisfied, then there is a case, cause an investigation into the complaint made and agency designated by it, if necessary, order stoppage of release of the funds of the scheme. Right? The statement is very lengthy. In essence, if the government has a guarantee or has a proof that there is abuse of the funds, misuse of the funds under MGNREGA, they can use a section 27 and stop allocation of the funds. And this was done by the central government in 2021. Now, the West Bengal government says, after that they asked us to give a report. We prepared a report. We also gave, right, what reforms we have implemented, what measures we have undertaken to address the issue of leakages under MGNREGA, etc. We submitted a report to the center. Central government returned the report, asked us to clarify certain issues again. And this is the statement given by the West Bengal government. They are saying that they have already submitted a revised report. They have submitted a revised report. But even today, there is no reply from the central government. Right, done. This is one side of the argument. One side of the argument. What is the other side? What is the other viewpoint? Central government is of the viewpoint that as of now, they do not have any proof to basically say that there is an improvement at the grassroots level in the West Bengal in terms of implementation of MGNREGA projects. So, until and unless they are convinced, unless they are convinced, they will not be giving a clean sheet for implementation of MGNREGA projects. But what is a bigger problem here? What is a bigger issue? The bigger issue is, what about those wage workers who have already worked, but the payment has not been done because the government of India has stopped flow of the funds? There are many workers who have not been paid because of this kind of a friction between the center as well as the state. That is the first very important point. And against this only, there is a cooperative here, NREGA Sangharsh Morcha, and this earlier also they have arranged multiple, let us say, walks, multiple, let us say, yatras to oppose the central government policy of stoppage of the funds, and now they are saying that they will organize a campaign. The NREGA Sangharsh March will arrange, right, umbrella worker for the workers here, umbrella body for the workers here. They will arrange a campaign, and in this campaign, all the registered workers under MGNREGA throughout India will be contributing 1 rupees, and this money will be used to pay for the pending wages of MGNREGA workers from West Bengal. So, these are certain important points. In addition to this, please make a note of this. The West Bengal government, addition to the MGNREGA, it is not being implemented in West Bengal government, but in addition to MGNREGA, now the West Bengal government has launched Karma Shri Yojana, and under this Karma Shri Yojana, the government basically provides for 50 days of wage opportunities or employment. right. So, these are important points regarding this let us say the article of MGNREGA in the state of West Bengal. Okay. Now, associated with this, I have given one more MCQ assignment, number 17. Consider the following statements regarding MNREGS. It will provide at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment for all the adults in every household in rural India in a calendar year. MGNREGA is a centrally sponsored scheme. MGNREGS is covered under DBT. DBT stands for Direct Benefit Transfer. How many of these statements are true? Do let me know. If you do not know the answer and if you want to know the key answer, please do join tomorrow when I discuss the newspaper again. Okay, that is tomorrow's newspaper, by the way. So, next article, GS paper 2, Supreme Court of India has issued an order yesterday, has given a verdict where it is protecting the jobs of certain employees who belonged to a particular caste. Now, what is the story here? Please listen carefully. I will tell you a story. The state government of Karnataka back in their 1970s announced that certain types of communities will be classified as a part of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Is the point number 1 clear to all of you? For example, in 1977, the state government of Karnataka announced that the people who will belong to, let us say, Kotegara community will be classified as scheduled caste community now. They will be part of scheduled caste. Now, what has happened because of this? The people who belong to Kotegara community, because now they are being classified as a scheduled caste now, they will go to the offices of the government authorities. They have taken a scheduled caste certificate. And because there is a reservation policy in government jobs, there is a reservation policy. The scheduled caste and scheduled tribes who have got the certificate like this, they have applied and they are employed at various government jobs. For example, some of them are employed in HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Some of them are employed with an insurance company, that is Oriental Insurance Company Limited. Some of them are employed in a public sector bank such as Canara Bank. Now, have a look at this. The Kotegara community was classified or was brought under the scheduled caste, and there is one more community, that is a ST Kuruba community. Kuruba community was brought under the ST through a notification by the state government. Once the notification was done, the people belong to these communities took the caste certificates, applied for the government jobs, got the jobs under reservation. Now, there was a very interesting case, 2000, that is a state of Maharashtra versus Milind. The judgment in this was given by a constitutional bench of Supreme Court of India, and the Supreme Court of India basically ruled that the authority to amend or modify the list of the scheduled caste or scheduled tribes in India lies only with the central government, and that has to be done by the central government through the President of India. The state governments will not have any power, I repeat, the state governments will not have any power to amend the list of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Now, this led to a lot of confusion. What was the issue here? The state government, that is the Karnataka state, has already notified some of the communities under the SC and ST. Now, the Supreme Court of India says states cannot do it. And in order to implement the Supreme Court order, the central government issued one more order and said that the classification which was done by earlier Karnataka government to classify these such as the Kotegara community or the Kuruba community as a part of SC and ST respectively, that will not be implemented, that will be cancelled. This announcement was done by the central government after the Supreme Court of India's order was issued, or Supreme Court of India's constitutional bench judgment was given. Now, look at the next part of the story, right? Imagine I am one of these persons, I have used, right, let us say I have taken the scheduled caste certificate, I have got a job, let us say in the Canara Bank. Now, once the order was issued by the central government, right, now the action started. What kind of action? Canara Bank sent a notice to me. They asked me now, because you belong to Kottagara community, you earlier had a scheduled caste certificate and you took a reservation seat. I gave you a job under the SC reservation. Now, your community is not part of the SC now. It is a delisted. It is not part of the SC. So tell me, why should I not remove you from the job? Right? Show cause to me. Right? A show cause notice was issued. Tell me, why should we not take action against you and remove you from the job, because you do not belong to that community now. And not just this. In many of these instances, criminal cases were initiated against people belonging to these communities who, under the announcement of government, that is the state government, had taken the caste certificate. So this matter went to Karnataka High Court. Karnataka High Court ruled that their jobs will have to be cancelled. That is, the jobs cannot be provided now because they are not part of the SC and ST community. And against this, although the criminal cases were dropped, against this order of Karnataka High Court, Supreme Court of India was approached, and justices, that is Justice Hima Kohli and Justice Sandeep Mehta, yesterday have issued, right, a new order. According to this latest judgment, they have overruled the order of Karnataka High Court. They have reversed the order of Karnataka High Court, point number 1. Point number 2, they have basically told that these people who got the caste certificate as SC and STs, they have not violated any law. They have followed all the principles of the law. They have not submitted a wrong information. They have not committed any crime, because the state government notified them as a part of SC and ST, they applied for certificate. Otherwise, they would not have applied for the certificate. So nothing wrong has been done by these people who were earlier classified as SCs and STs. So you cannot cancel their jobs. You cannot cancel their employment. They will continue to be employed by these government owned entities or public sector enterprises. Next point, the court also stated that because now you are not classified as a part of SC and ST community, you are not classified now. Henceforth, if you want to get any benefits which is available to SCs and STs, because earlier you had a certificate, you got employed under SC reservation. Now, in the next days, in the following days, if you want to claim any benefits which is available to SCs and STs, it will not be provided to you. So these are the important points in the judgment that has been issued by Justice Hima Kohli and Justice Sandeep Mehta regarding, right, let's say the government jobs or the protection of these employees who are employed as SCs and ST under the SC and ST reservation, right, by the state owned or let's say the government owned entities. Done. Now let me go to the next article. She-Box portal, SHE, She-Box portal has been announced, has been launched by the government. Now to be very precise here, understand this, the She-Box portal is not new. Earlier only it was announced. Basically the evolution is like this. In 2013, Government of India came out with a law to prohibit and protect women against sexual harassment at workplaces. Is it okay? 2013. So the law was implemented to protect and prevent sexual harassment at workplaces. And under the provisions of the law, using the provisions of the law, the Ministry of Women and Child Development, MWCD, in 2017 launched a portal by the name of She-Box, SHE, She-Box. She-Box basically stands for Sexual Harassment Electronic Box, basically a portal which has been developed and implemented. Now what is the use of the She-Box and why is the government now saying they have implemented or they have launched a She-Box now? Please understand, the portal was already launched in 2017, now a improved version of it, a new iteration, a improved version of it has been launched. Hence they are saying She-Portal or She-Box portal launched. But to be very precise, it is nothing new, it is already present. But what is the importance of this? Please understand, under the provisions of the prevention of sexual harassment at workplaces, the women, whether they are working in organized sector or unorganized sector, whether they are working in the private sector companies or public sector, doesn't matter, all of them are protected. And you should know this, you should remember this. Why? I am pretty sure all of you are reading as to what is happening in the state of Kerala. One after other, sexual harassment cases are being filed upon the revealing of the Hema committee report. Right, so I hope you understand the concept of prevention of sexual harassment at workplaces will come into picture there as well. So argument here is, under the law, whether you are working in organized, unorganized, doesn't matter. You are working in the private sector or public sector, doesn't matter. All these women will be protected under the provisions of the law. And the law basically states that whenever there is a complaint, regarding a sexual harassment that is raised by a woman employee, committees will have to be established. In case of the private sector, these are called as internal committees, IC. In case of private sector, these are called as internal committees, and in case of the public sector or government owned entities, these are called as local committees. So whenever you are reading about this, you will come across two acronyms, IC and LC. So IC or LC has to be established in all of these entities. Whenever the complaint is filed, now they will have to report it in the SHE box. They will have to keep on reporting all of this data under the SHE box. So SHE box is basically a repository. It's a centralized repository of all the cases, all the instances where the complaints have been done regarding sexual harassment at workplace. And it is not just going to provide you information regarding the cases. It will tell you how many of the cases have been resolved, what action has been taken, right, how many cases have been filed, etc., etc. All the information will be provided through the SHE box portal. Done? So these are certain important points regarding the SHE box portal in the context of what is happening in India in multiple states. Please be aware of these provisions. Next article, ration shops in the Nilgiris have been fortified. Now what is the importance of the article? In the last couple of months, there have been multiple instances where animals have strayed into the people's, let's say the localities where people are staying, people have been killed, and there is a lot of discussion regarding man-animal conflict. Man-animal conflict. How do we reduce the man-animal conflict? One of the solution is given now. One of the solution. For example, in some of these states, for example in Kerala, many of these animals enter into the localities, that is the places where people are residing, precisely to consume food, to eat food grains. Now what if I develop better safety and security for those ration shops and ensure that the animals will not be able to break into these ration shops? So they might basically stop they might simply stop going to the ration shops only. And I hope you understand, the ration shops are located where people are present. They will not be located in, right, let's say hilly areas where nobody is present. These will be located, these will be set up, right, in the localities where people are residing, etc. So how about improving the security? Make it more difficult for the animals to enter into these ration shops, right? How? For example, now to basically protect the ration shops, fair price shops from attacks of elephants as well as bears, in Kerala, right, that is in the Nilgiris, a 3-step process or a 3 security ring has been developed. And the 3 security rings are: 1, there will be, right, let's say steel gates which can be used to close the area. They can use the steel gates, right, that is basically the iron gates which will be used to cordon off, right, the animals will not be able to break in, right, into the ration shop. Second, whatever is the gate, that is basically the rolls like this, these will be made much more stronger, right, the entry point will be made much more stronger. That is the second level. The third level of security, which is slightly dangerous, electric fencing will be done. Electric fencing will also be done. So, these are the 3 steps which have been taken in the Nilgiris to protect the ration shops from being attacked by elephants as well as bears. And the logic is very simple here. If the elephants and bears, that is essentially animals, if they come to know that they will not be able to enter into these ration shops to consume food now, they may altogether stop going into villages. If they stop going to villages altogether, the issue of man and animal conflict will also be addressed, because generally it has been seen that when animals will enter into these localities, in the process of either entering or exiting, they end up killing people. So, if you prohibit entry of the animals into the fair price shops, they will stop going into villages, and this will be a solution to address the issue of man-animal conflict. Okay? So, remember this, you can use this as a point to write a mains answer. Next article, 156 irrational fixed dose combinations have been banned by the union government. Now, what is the concept here? What are the important points? Let me put in a nutshell. The fixed dose combinations, FDCs, fixed dose combinations, are a cocktail of more than 2 components. For example, many of the times when you go to a medical shop, when I go to a medical shop, we will ask for, let us say, a medicine for treatment of, let us say, fever. But in the process of purchasing the medicine, the components within the tablet will also have certain components to treat cold, certain, let us say, ingredient will be used to treat body ache, certain ingredient to treat, let us say, many other ailments. So, whenever you have a cocktail of more than 2 ingredients, this is called as a fixed dose combinations, FDC, fixed dose combination. The reason why we have a FDC is to ensure that certain types of patients, rather than taking multiple tablets, they can take 1 or 2 tablets, and they will have a solution to multiple diseases or multiple ailments. But over a period of time, it has been seen that many of these combinations which are sold in the market, there is no proper testing which is being done. They will simply create multiple types of combinations like this, and they will keep on selling in the market. Many of the times you will consume one component, that is, let us say, one component within the medicine, which is not at all going to help you with anything. It can actually end up harming you, side effects can be observed. So, what is being done by the government? The government of India says we will use the section 20A of, section 26A of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, and under the section 20A of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, these 156 irrational FDCs have been identified and they have been banned now. So, this is important, please make a note of this. And finally, a small article, DGCA places a SpiceJet under strict watch over poor financial health. Day for yesterday as well as yesterday, and in the last 1 week also, there has been lot of discussion regarding what about the financial health of airline companies in India. For example, the SpiceJet, in multiple instances, there have been delays in terms of payment of salary. In the last couple of months, some of these workers have not been paid salary only. For airport authorities also, which will provide lot of services. For example, they will have a security check of the people, that is passengers. They will provide a check, that is basically checking the health of the aircrafts, etc., refueling, etc. So, when they provide all of these services, they are supposed to be paid money, but it has been found that the SpiceJet periodically has been not repaying the amount, has not been paying the amount. So, concerns have been raised, and there was a news article also which said in Dubai, yesterday only, in Dubai, the passengers who had booked the flight ticket in SpiceJet, they were not allowed to board the flight because the SpiceJet company had not paid money to the Dubai airport. So, looking at all of these, now the DGCA, which is the regulator, civil aviation regulator in India, has placed SpiceJet under enhanced surveillance, ES, enhanced surveillance. What is the basic idea of enhanced surveillance? They will keep on checking periodically or repeatedly. Now there will be lot of checks by the civil aviation authorities regarding the services, the safety parameters of the airliner. This is being done in order to ensure that the company, in order to pay lesser amount of money or to basically not pay money, they will not basically, right, let's say provide inferior quality of services and put the safety of the passengers at the risk. So in order to address this, the DGCA has placed, right, the SpiceJet under enhanced surveillance. Done? So these are certain very important points associated with the last article, the 11th article for today. Right. So I've covered multiple articles ranging from science and technology to polity to economy to just ensure that you will have a all round, right, let's say coverage of all the important current affairs articles. And that has been the endeavor from our side to make this as a one-stop destination for all of your current affairs requirements. If you like these initiatives, do hit the like button, provide your valuable comments in the section below, but more importantly, if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.